Told you to sit down and be quiet. Daddy, keep him down over there. We go through a very, very large amount of these sauces. The hickory moonshine, the gold, even the coleslaw dressing. We go through a very large amount of it. At least 20 gallons a week on a low end.
Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome in to the Gramlich and Mac Lane podcast, episode 242. Mac, for some reason, I almost said 2042.
Wow, man.
We are not there yet.
quick math. How do we get to 2000? How many years has it been?
That's going to be a long time. That's going to be another decades, plural. So we'll get there eventually. But this is episode 242, and our podcast, our little podcast, is sponsored by Duke's Mayo, and we appreciate our great friends over at Duke's Mayo. And speaking of Duke's Mayo, we know, of course, they're sponsoring the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Today, we thought on a Monday, as bowl season gets started this week, we would give you some initial thoughts, initial picks, kind of a 10,000-foot view on all of these ACC bowl games. We've got 9 bowl games, Mac, and we're going to run through all of them.
Come on. I'm jacked up, KG. There's a lot of really good brands. Just when you kind of look at this thing and you're looking at the list, you're looking at the matchup, you're just kind of like, man, that's exciting to see Cincinnati on an 8. You see Oregon, top 15 team there with Oregon. You see Oklahoma, the massive brand, Tennessee, Maryland, a fun back blast from the past there, ACC rival, and of course UCLA. So we're going to jump into all these. There's a couple I didn't mention that are still fun games that we'll talk about. But just when all these bowls were rolling out, KG, I was just looking at it like, dang, these are some nice brands. This is potential for some really good wins here for the conference. And anytime you go outside of the ACC and you're waving that flag, you've got to have that pride. You got to get it done and bring home a victory.
It's a good point, Mac. And I mean, recent years, the ACC has struggled a bit in bowl season. So this could be big. And I think there's a lot of very winnable games. And we're going to break down each of these games individually. We'll have some episodes where we talk a couple bowls, especially this week where we're kind of in the beginning. And then we will give, of course, the Cheez-It Bowl, the Orange Bowl, Duke's Mayo Bowl, these bigger bowls, their own episodes. So stay tuned for all of that. But first, Mac, before we get into all this, like we said, our podcast is sponsored by Duke's Mayo. I should just say show because we are all over YouTube, so check that out. But the Y'all Star Sweepstakes is about to come to an end. It's very sad, but you need to get in now. The deadline is December 14th, this week. So go to dukesmayo.com, enter the Y'all Star Sweepstakes, and this is what you can win. 4 pregame field passes for the Duke's Mayo Bowl, NC State and Maryland. 4 on-field tickets where you can sit in Duke's Mayo Twang Throne. Doesn't get any better. You've got a stadium tour of Bank of America, which is pretty cool. You got a travel voucher, 250 Visa gift card, and swag, all sorts of Mayo. And you get to see either Mike Loxley or Dave Doran get dunked in Mayo. And Mac and I were just talking about this. Dave Doran, he's one of those coaches where, and we really like Dave, I could see him not being down with the Mayo. So you got that drama post-game if they win.
Not the drama of who's getting Mayo dunked on him. Listen, it's for charity. We will speak with Coach, and if he hasn't made a decision by then, maybe we'll can coerce him into doing that. Maybe we can get him to lean into the Mayo. It's good for your hair, Dave, and your beard, and just exfoliates and moisturizes the skin there. So we can make that happen. I think we can make that happen, KG. Here's the deal. I am very sad to tell you guys this because I was super excited on Friday. My weekend took a little bit of a turn. Now, listen, you guys know I'm a big grill master. I love getting out there, love smoking meat, love doing all this stuff. And I was going to use, I think it's right here, this lovely product, the brown sugar mustard. Really good on ribs.
That mustard will change your life. That mustard will change your life.
I had to go and help my pops. Haven't been able to do that all year long because of football, this and that. He's building a pool right now. building this really cool kind of entertainment area, an outdoor bathroom, all these different things. So I had to go and do that. So on my first weekend off of college football season, I was out there working like a dog all day long. So, whatever. That was fun.
You're a good son.
Yes, that is sometimes true.
Yes.
But here's the deal. I didn't get to do that. So instead, tonight, Monday Night Football, check it out. Of course, I'm making wings. And I found this new recipe. Don't jump off the ship here, KG. I'm using mayo as the binder. So I have my wings in the bowl. I'm going to dump a bunch of mayo on it and mix it all in and then do the rub. I've never seen this before. Never tasted it before. Never seen it before. I was just kind of on Instagram where you just get locked in. And so I was just on there, and I saw this guy dumping some mayo. It wasn't Duke's, by the way, which is baffling. Dumping mayo on there. And I'm like, I have to try this. I have to try some twang with some wings. So I'm going to do that. There's going to be some other, stuff to check it out. So on Wednesday, you guys will see that final product, and I can talk about how good it was not.
Let's go.
I think it's going to be good, though. I'm really excited.
I'm pumped, Mac. You're going to use this
guy right
here?
there, or this guy
Classic?
right here, whatever you want. Whoever screen you want to look at, that's who I'm using.
Okay, I can't wait to see how these turn out, Mac. And we'll let the people know, and then maybe they can replicate.
Have you ever thought of that? Did that throw you off when I just said that? Was that weird or not weird?
Well, no. I mean, mayo is in things that you would not suspect.
Yeah.
Desserts, all sorts of stuff. I mean, you can find all these recipes at dukesmayo.com. They've got a lot of good stuff there.
True.
And it works out. It's the consistency. You can use it in quite a few things. And Mac, here's the thing. When you start talking about grilling, I don't question you. Whatever you say to me is gospel.
Girl. That's right.
When it comes to the grill. So I don't question you ever, Eric Mac.
I will tell the truth, though. If it's not good, I will tell y'all on Wednesday. I will tell you.
Right. Because that's just, you're doing a service to the art of grilling. Right, exactly. Okay, Mac, we've got some games to dive into. I'm just going to go chronologically. Initial thoughts on these games, initial pick on these games.
Early picks.
So let's start, early picks. We'll give our official picks on that Bowls episode. But this one, just initial thoughts, just seeing what we're thinking. And I've got Vegas lines too. So the games start this week, December 17th. We have the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, 11 a.m. on ESPN in Boston, in Fenway. I think that's self-explanatory. Cincinnati, 9-3 versus Louisville, 7-5. The line is even. We don't have a favorite here. And this is a rivalry game, Mac. Did you know that Louisville and Cincinnati, when they play, and they used to play every year, they battle for a trophy called the Keg of Nails. The winning trophy is a replica of a keg used to ship nails, and its use was initiated by the school's fraternity, signifying the winning team is tough as nails. I love this, Mac. Let's go.
Tough as nails. We have to show you how tough we are because we have a keg of nails. So do you, in KG Stats and Info, do you have when this trophy was stop being used? Is it still, will it be used also in this bowl?
Yes. So I was reading different things, trying to figure out who in the heck is Cincinnati's interim coach, because that we still don't know. And the release on Cincinnati's website said that they will battle. The trophy will be there. The Keg of Nails will be there.
Who
but
has
we still
the
don't
keg?
know. That I'm not sure who won the last game. But Cincinnati owns the winning record in the series. But maybe the Keg is coaching for Cincinnati, because at least right now on December 11th when we're recording this, I cannot find who their interim coach is. I have no idea. Maybe Satterfield's just going to step in, and that would be crazy.
What are you doing on the 17th of December? Are you available? Could you fly up?
I would, Mac, but I'm actually flying to go call a game. So
I think Kelsey Riggs will be there. Maybe she can coach. For Cincinnati. Whatever.
Kelsey's available.
I'm fascinated by this game, KG. Not only because of the interesting coaching situation that is revolving around this, where one coach is leaving the Power 5 to go to the G5, who will be going to the Big 12 soon. I understand that.
I was going to say, yeah.
But it's only happened one other time, I think, ever, and that was our guy Dana going from West Virginia to Houston. I think that's the only other time that's ever happened. So very interesting. I have my thoughts on that, which I think I've expressed, which I do not like. I'll say this, too, because there's a couple other instances where this happens. We always want to ridicule kids for leaving schools and for opting out of this and this and that. Think of all the kids that actually did enjoy Coach Satterfield and that staff that are playing on this Louisville team that he jumped ship on and literally left them to go to the team that they're playing. That is crazy to me.
And
That's
a rival.
crazy to me. And we're going to preach loyalty and preach you should stay no matter what. You got to earn. Like, that's crazy to me. And it's something where in this ever-changing world, like a couple of years ago, if you would have asked, like back in 2016, when this all first really started happening, where guys are opting out of games and this and that, I was ticked. I was like, like, what are you doing?
I remember.
This is crazy that you're doing that to your brothers and you're not going to play in this. I don't care what it is. Like, it's very rare times that I got to wear this helmet right here. And I cherished all of them. And now it's such a changed landscape where everybody's just leaving. Everybody's looking out for themselves. Where, I mean, how can I point a finger and say that? So anyway, I have a lot of feelings and emotions about this game. And I don't know what the heck's going to happen. I don't know who the heck's playing. I don't know who's going to play. Like, we found a list of some opt-outs here for each team.
Yeah.
But who knows what that's going to be once we get to the actual game. So when I look at it, I think kind of both defenses have been the strength. Like, we know Cincinnati for a couple of years now have really produced great talent, got to the college football playoff last year. Sauce Gardner in the NFL right now balling. We know what that Louisville defense has done all year long. So to me, KG, I think of those guys that play for Louisville, who can affect the quarterback, who can spark something, expecting a low-scoring game here. I think 42.5 is the line. So I think that's what's going to do it.
Yeah.
And who can step up to the occasion and make a big play defensively.
It is going to be a defensive battle. I think everyone is pretty clear on that. Of course, Coach Brown, Louisville's DC, went with Satterfield to Cincinnati. So you've got that. Deion Branch is the interim head coach for Louisville. Again, I don't know for Cincinnati. When you look at opt-outs, there's 4 opt-outs for Cincinnati. For Louisville, there's some really big names. A lot of the running backs are opting out. Malik Cunningham is opting out to prepare for the draft, which honestly I get for him because he's been injured all year. Tyon Evans has gone to the draft. Tyler Hudson is not playing. And Keitrell Clark is not playing. These are your dudes. These are your dudes. Now, from what I've read, I think Abdullah and Yaya Diaby are going to be there. So that's really all you need. Cincinnati has the number 1 scoring defense in the American, allowing just 20 points per game. But we know what Louisville's done, sacking the quarterback. So I think, Mac, low-key, this game's going to be pretty hideous.
Could be.
Because I feel for these players. I mean, you've got brand new coaches coming in for this game. Cincinnati, we still don't know. So I think it's going to be pretty ugly. That's why the total is so low. And for whatever reason, I think maybe the revenge factor, Mac, I kind of lean Louisville.
Okay.
Just because your coach just left you. Like, that has to – and I know Cincinnati's coach left them too, but he went to Wisconsin. It doesn't really matter. I kind of like that, right? And I know Braum can't coach, and I'm not quite sure on the rules.
He's going to be there, though.
But maybe he can – I was going to say, maybe he can speak to them. I don't know. But that's the way
I think it's his team. And I think I think he is probably going to choose not to coach. I reflect back to when Coach Mark Richt got hired at Miami, and he kind of was hands-off until the season was over. He said, listen, you guys take care of this. I'll be around, but I'm not going to be involved. I'm not going to coach. So I'm sure he's going to be there, and I'm sure he's going to motivate those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, combined with that, which I'm super excited that he's coming home, we'll dive into that kind of in the postseason when we get out of football season, the off season, and get a talk to Coach. Well, it'd be great to bring him on here and just kind of see that decision, because I feel like this has been a really long time coming. But combining that with Deion Branch, 2 guys that have been there, done that, did everything for Louisville, and they just had a guy leave them for a quote unquote lesser job, even though that might be not perceived that way because Cincinnati has been to the playoff. They're going to be fired up, and I'm with you. I think that revenge deal, I think that kind of forget you mentality, I think that's going to show up. I think these guys play really hard. With that in mind, I'm with you. I'm leaning Louisville. We'll see if more names drop out. But right now, I think that defense, especially that defensive line and edge rushers, I think they're going to make it really tough on Cincinnati.
And you've got Brock Doman, who's played a lot for you, and that's going to be your QB1 in this game. So, and Cincinnati's offense hasn't been incredibly impressive this year. They've really been able to win games with their defense. But I love the revenge factor in that game, Mac. Next up for us on December 23rd and I wanted to write down the full names of these bowls, okay, so the sponsors can all get their due. We've got the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Wake Forest 7-5 versus Missouri 6-6. Right now, Wake Forest is a 1-point favorite. This game is played in Tampa, so should be good weather and all that. We know that this game means a lot, I think, to both programs, but specifically for Wake, with the success they've had in bowl games recently, and for this being Sam Hartman's, we think, last game. I haven't seen any opt-outs for Wake Forest. The big ones for Missouri, you've got Dominic Lovett, who is that dude, great wide receiver. He has opted out to go into the portal. Also some other names, Zach Lovett, which I'm assuming is his brother, DJ Jackson, a DB, and Travion Ford, a defensive lineman. So I've seen a couple big opt-outs for Mizzou and not much for Wake.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest story of this game is it's all about Sam Hartman, and can he get one more touchdown, and break the record and stand alone with being the all-time leading, touchdown passer there. And what's cool for him to kind of, be a little bit of a young man, I don't want to say a kid, but to be a kid and to, kind of talk about it and what that would mean and how cool it would be, and to talk about that, when the season's over. But I have to think that's a really big deal. There's been so much floating around with Sam, and is he going to the league? Is he going to play somewhere else? Is he going to get some massive NIL deal and go play for X school? I don't know, but I can't wait to figure it out, and I can't wait to see what happens, what goes there. But the biggest thing is get that one touchdown and let's sail off into the sunset, my man, for what you've done for Wake football. So excited to see that. Anytime you can see history, and of course that weather, like you said, if it can stay dry, I think that can be really good, especially for this Wake offense that at times this year, we've seen be, one of the best in the country, one of the most explosive, but there's been some hiccups as well. I think we see the sharper version of those guys.
Well, I do think Sam Hartman will have this team locked in, and it's kind of surprising when you look back at Wake's final stretch this year. They've lost 4 of their last 5.
Is it surprising, though? That's just what they do.
I mean, I knew that, but 4 of their last 5. And they've played a lot of really good teams in that stretch. So, keep that in mind. But Missouri, I believe, has won their last 2. So Missouri's probably feeling a little better. But, of course, they're without their best wide receiver in Lovett. And just a few more little nuggets here, Mac. Wake is 1-4 straight up in his last 5 games. As we've said, they've lost 4 of the last 5. Missouri is 6-3 against the spread in their last 9 games this year. Wake is a 1-point favorite. I think I still lean Wake, Mac. I think Sam Hartman, to me, and I don't know much about where Missouri is. They're 6-6. They're bowl eligible. I think this game might mean a little more to Wake, probably because of the Sam Hartman factor.
And I think, when you're losing a player that's as special as Lovett, I mean, he was a majority of their offense, this year in the receiving game and the things that he could do. So that's going to be tough, seeing young guys step up, next guy up mentality, for Missouri. 1-point game, it's basically a pick 'em, 2 pick 'ems in a row here now. So I'm going with Wake. I think exactly what you said, that inspiration to ball out for Sam and for him to get that record, I think is really important to everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. I can't speak for Mac, but I get less homer as this goes on with some of these ACC picks. But for this next one, I still think I'm leaning ACC. December 28th.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you cannot lean with this pick. So I think you were pretty adamant about your Blue Devils.
You're right. I was. Oh, my gosh. I totally forgot I said that. Thank you for keeping me honest. Okay. The Military Bowl presented by Peraton, not Peloton.
What is a Peraton? Do you know what a Peraton is?
Maybe it's a military thing. I don't know. We should probably know that. UCF 9-4 versus Duke 8-4. Duke is a 1-point favorite. The total is 62.5. Played in Annapolis, Maryland. When you look at opt-outs, I haven't seen any for Duke. That's another trend. I think overall, if we're just looking, especially these first couple games, well, with Duke and Wake, they have a lot less opt-outs than their opponent. For UCF, they've got like 5 guys in the portal. But the big question for UCF is John Reese Plumlee, who pulled his hammy in the Tulane game. Will he be 100% to play on December 28th? Now, that he's had about a month to recover. I've never pulled a hammy, Matt. I don't know if you have, but that's the big question for UCF.
I don't know. Is that you've never pulled a hammy? I don't know if that is impressive or depressing. Which one do you think?
That I've never pulled a hamstring? Oh, I'll take it.
I think it's impressive. You're a limber athlete. I'm just thinking at basketball, there's a lot of explosion. That's a pretty interesting injury to have happen there.
I'm a big yoga person.
Were you back then, though? Were you back then?
Not necessarily, but I still, I don't know. You have to keep the bone. Like, my bones already felt old. You got to stretch, Max. Stretching and recovery is very important.
See, I didn't move very far in my athletic ability, so I didn't have the opportunity to snap a hamstring there. So I'm with you there.
Oh, good. So we're both
We're super lucky.
Great.
You know what's interesting about this game is just how similar these two teams are. When you look at the quarterback position, especially, I mean, you've got two game breakers, with what they're going to run out there with Plumlee, with Leonard, two guys that are leading their team in rushing as well from the quarterback position. I think Plumlee leads the country in quarterback yards there. He's a freak with what he can do with his legs, has 145 carries, right at 840 yards. I mean, an absolute weapon. They're going to use him in the run game time and time again. How affected is that because of his injury, because of his health, and is he fully back? That will certainly be what we want to pay attention to. Leonard, I think, is full speed. I mean, this guy he's hit the ground running this year, has looked really, really dominant all year long. He's looked super effective, the way he uses his legs and his arm. Man, the future of the ACC and these young quarterbacks that we have is very exciting, and cannot wait to kind of dive into them. So can he put an exclamation point on this season, get 9 wins for the ACC Coach of the Year and Coach Elko, and really get all kinds of momentum going into next season? That's what I'm excited to see. I think they get it done. I think this Duke team they play with a different confidence than we've seen in a long time from Duke, maybe since 2013. And I think they get that done and get to 9.
100%. That confidence, I think, is different. I think this game's very important for the ACC as a whole. If you could see Duke beat UCF, which is still a big brand that people respect because of a lot of their recent success, and they're a 9-win team, they're looking for that 10th win. I think this would be really big for the league and just for Duke in general as they continue to build. Because of the question marks with Plumlee, and, I saw a Louisville team beat this UCF team. I feel like Duke can do it. And I feel like this game, not that it doesn't mean a lot to UCF, because I'm sure it does, but with this kind of season that Duke has had, this would be such an exclamation point.
Yeah, well, I do.
So,
I think this is important to UCF, though. I mean, this is a big deal for them to beat an ACC team, to beat a Power 5 team, and this is going to be a gritty game. I'm looking at the number here, trying to find it actually as I'm talking, clicking around here. I bet these guys go back 62.5. Absolutely. I might even go over. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. Pending Plumlee, like, of course, of what he can do there, his ability. But I think that's going to be a lot of points in that game.
And it's almost a pick 'em too. It's -1. So, no, I think this game means a lot to UCF too. To get that 10th win would be really big for them. So, I just, like I said, didn't I guarantee a Duke Bowl win?
It was a Grambling guarantee.
Okay. It was a Grambling guarantee. All right, dude.
Gotta roll.
Help me out here. Help me out. So those first 3 were really all pick'ems, and we leaned ACC. This next game, Mac, I'll just tell you before we talk about it, I'm not really leaning ACC here. December 28th, the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Number 15 Oregon, 9-3, versus North Carolina, 9-4. Last I checked, Oregon's a 14-point favorite. It's pretty good. That's the biggest number of bowl season for an ACC team. The total is 70. And for Oregon, Christian Gonzalez is a really good corner for them. He's going to the draft. 8 other guys have entered the portal. But the main thing is that Bo Nix will play. And that's huge for Oregon. We know for North Carolina, Drake May's playing. Obviously, he can't go to the draft yet. And he said he's back and he's ready to go. But Storm Duck, Tony Grimes, Cameron Kelly, I mean, the list goes on and on of these defensive guys, specifically DBs, that have entered the portal. So if you're trying to slow down Bo Nix and your defense has already struggled, and then all these dudes have entered the portal, I don't even know who's playing in the secondary for UNC now.
Who's left on the roster? I mean, UNC might have DB tryouts mid of bowl practice. I mean, going into the second semester here. It's crazy. I mean, I think I've seen 8 or 9 DBs, and I think mostly corners, like 6 or 7 corners, and then 2 or 3 safeties. I mean, that's crazy. And you're going against this Oregon team that has a really, really good offensive line, has a quarterback who was right there in the mix for the Heisman at one point, just like your quarterback was. and is probably a little angry they weren't playing in a Big 12 or Pac. What is it? The Pac-10, Pac-12 championship there, and having a shot at the Rose Bowl. So I think they're going to want to really prove a point,
right?
Albeit a lot of opt-outs and some things that will be interesting. I just don't know. You know who I would have loved to see in this game? FSU. I would have loved to see the Noles and the Ducks battling it out in California. I don't know why this is a weird mix, because you've got a team in UNC, KG, that's really deflated right now.
Right. I would almost prefer UNC Oklahoma in the Cheez-It Bowl and Florida State Oregon. I think those would
I don't know whose decision it was to send UNC out there, but big mix.
Probably the Cheez-It Bowl saying we want Florida State.
How did they get the dub? How did they pick 6-6 Oklahoma and then the second best ACC team? That's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy.
And see, a lot of this, again, it goes back to it's such a business. Like, if we're thinking of fans, we wouldn't have done this because of the best games. And if we're thinking of the players, we probably wouldn't have done that because of the best games. But the bowls, the Cheez-It Bowl is pretty high up there in the pecking order in the ACC of who they want. And they're in Orlando, so of course they want Florida State. I get that. But I'm leaning Oregon in this game, Mac. I think this game will be fun to watch. I still think UNC can score, but the UNC defense, with how they looked against Clemson and then with all the depletions, I just wonder where that lock room is right now.
By the way, Josh Downs isn't playing either. He's opt-out. He's going.
Josh Downs, thank you. Yes.
It'll be interesting. We will have to see the absolute best version of Drake May. Like, he will have to be Mr. Do-It-All.
Do everything.
For UNC if they want to even compete. I won't even say win. I just say compete in this game, because I think it could get pretty lopsided, because you're looking at, again, one of the best offensive lines in the country going against a very lackluster defensive line that also is missing some guys. I think Keyshawn Silver has gone into the transfer portal.
He's in the portal.
And is saying that he's going to opt out. One. So, not that he was an impactful guy while he was there or this season, but man, it's going to be interesting. If I'm Oregon, I'm running the ball every play, and I'm just relying on those big guys up front and seeing what they can do.
Well, speaking of a team that we kind of wish would have been in that bowl, December 29th, we have the Cheez-It Bowl. Oklahoma, 6-6, versus number 13, Florida State, 9-3. FSU is looking for that 10th win, which would be huge for the program to catapult it into next year. Florida State's a 7.5-point favorite. The total 65.5, and as we've said, this game is in Orlando. The big news here, Mac, and I think 7.5 is low. That number might shoot up by the time this game is played. I haven't seen we've seen one or two guys enter the portal for FSU, but basically no one. I mean, everyone's playing in this game. For Oklahoma, Wanye Morris, offensive tackle, off to the draft. Anton Harrison, another offensive lineman, off to the draft. Eric Gray, running back, off to the draft. Jalen Redmond, D lineman, off to the draft. Theo Weeks, wide receiver, in the portal. OU's got a lot of guys moving on. If you're an Oklahoma player, you're looking at this game and you're thinking, yikes. Yeah, they wanted us because of the brand, but we're playing FSU, and FSU's really good. I feel really good about FSU.
Well, the last time that we saw Oklahoma play in this game was 2014. I was a part of that, and we absolutely killed them. And I think we might see something just like that. I'm not sure why the line and the point total don't add up to me. Like, I don't know how you think those guys are going to score that much. Like, I really don't see that happening at all. On top of the fact, all those guys you mentioned, there's another tackle missing. The left and right tackle are not going to be there. So you're going to have two super young, inexperienced guys going against Jared Verse. Have fun. Good luck. And I think that it's going to be –
and those linebackers.
I think it's going to be domination. I think that the safest bet of bowl season is FSU to just blow out that number. 7.5, easy. Take those guys all day long. I think that it's really – I think they look at it as an opportunity to be in the top 10 in the preseason for next year, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah. 100%. Mac, you're talking about guarantee. I agree with this, and I'm not sure there's a team, not just in the ACC, but outside of the entire country, outside of the playoff. I'm not sure there's a team that's going to be more motivated for a bowl game, where their bowl game means more to them than Florida State. It just means more. To get that 10th win for a team that some people didn't even have in a bowl game because of that schedule, and to have, I'm sure a lot of Noles fans are going to be there in Orlando for that game. So I totally agree, Mac. Book this thing, guarantee it. FSU -7.5, whatever the line
Easy,
is.
no question. No question about it. And I think a little interesting nugget about this as well is, so FSU going to end their season here in Orlando. Next year, they're going to start it in Orlando against LSU. So 2 games in a row, they're going to be playing in the same stadium, the same city, and I think absolutely representing. Cannot wait. That game in Orlando versus LSU next year is going to be bonkers.
Come on.
I can't wait to see that. Can't wait to see it.
Absolutely wild. Totally agree. Okay. December 29th as well, in addition to the Cheez-It Bowl, we have the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl in Yankee Stadium. Syracuse 7-5 versus Minnesota 8-4. Minnesota right now is a 7.5 point favorite. The total is 42. Minnesota is playing really well right now. They don't have that many opt-outs, and neither does Syracuse. So I think you're going to see kind of at least as of now, the cores of both of these teams. Minnesota has won 4 of their last 5. We know Syracuse has lost 4 of their last 5. And Minnesota is only allowing about 100 rushing yards per game. I think it's going to be cool to play in Yankee Stadium. That's going to be a heck of an experience. You're obviously closer to Syracuse when you're in New York. But the way Syracuse finished the year and the way Minnesota finished the year, I think I'm leaning.
I've got 2 things for you here before we start. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did Syracuse not beg and plead and scream, "Do not send us to the Pinstripe Bowl"? Do you remember that? Right when they got bowl eligible.
No, I don't remember that.
I'm pretty sure they're
they don't want to go.
No, because they want to go somewhere else. They want to get out of New York. They want to get out of New York.
Somewhere warm.
I vaguely remember that. Please, if you guys are listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 90% sure Syracuse was like, "Dear ACC guys, please do not send us to the Pinstripe Bowl."
They want to go to
to Boston. They want to go
the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa.
They want to go
something.
anywhere but New York. Anywhere but New York. So that's an interesting fact. Second thing, did you ever play a basketball game in anything but a basketball arena?
The Carrier Dome.
Oh, you did? Okay, I forgot about that.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was weird.
Okay.
I did not like it.
Super interesting.
I didn't shoot the ball
because
well.
the sight lines,
Flat out.
everything's different, right? Depth perception.
Yes, it messed with me. I didn't like it. Did you ever play a football game in a different thing?
Thank the Lord. I only played on football stadiums. I couldn't imagine playing on a baseball field. There's probably parts of it that are relatively unsafe, how close it is, the stands. Yeah. And then there's others where it's probably miles, fans cannot see you. You can be standing there on the sideline waving, they cannot see you because they're so far away. So I'm very intrigued to see that. Thirdly, looking at this game, Minnesota's going to run for 300 yards. That's just they're going to ground and pound. They're going to run the football.
Ibrahim.
Unfortunately, that has been the Achilles heel of this team, and nothing's going to change on overnight. They're losing their defensive coordinator. He's headed out. He's out of there. They lost their offensive coordinator. Syracuse is going through a ton right now in regards to changes and what they're dealing with, what they're not dealing with, things of that nature. So they might have all their players, but they're not going to have any of their play callers to get them in the right set there. So it's going to be really interesting just to see what does that team come out and look like. Is it that kind of us versus everybody mentality, or is it going to be more of the same, what we've seen from them defensively, and just really not have a shot here? I think the physicality for Minnesota up front is going to be a little bit overwhelming for Syracuse.
Minnesota just feels like much more stable program right now. And this is Minnesota going for a 9th win.
It's big, massive.
9-win Minnesota. They'd have more wins than their quarterback has passing touchdowns. That's
not as many as years he's been in college. So it's very close. It's very close.
Tanner Morgan has been there for decades.
We're the same age. Same hairline, same age.
He's older than Stetson. Okay. 3 final bowl games to talk about, Mac, and 3 of the biggest, all on December 30th. Let's get into the Capital One Orange Bowl in Miami. Number 6, Tennessee, 10-2 versus number 7, Clemson, 11-2. Right now, Clemson is a 6.5 point favorite. The total is 64. Clemson's had quite a few guys enter the portal. The main one is DJU. We know that he's not going to be down there in Miami. It's going to be the Cade Klubnik show. The backup is just going to be Hunter Johnson, one of those dudes. But it's going to be all about Cade Klubnik. Kobe Pace, EJ Williams, Fred Davis also in the portal. For Tennessee, Lynn J. Dixon in the portal. It's all full circle there. And then Jimmy Callaway, wide receiver for Tennessee. And, of course, Hendon Hooker is injured. He's not playing. This bowl game has become the Joe Milton versus Cade Klubnik bowl game. And what's ironic, Mac, is I feel like Joe Milton is low-key DJ Uiagalelei.
Yes.
They are almost the same quarterback. So we're going to see that.
Have we discussed this before? Have we spoken about that?
I don't know. I know Joe Milton, and I'm like, that's DJ.
He absolutely is. He's got a really strong arm, but just can't control it. He's a pretty good runner, pretty good.
And he's a big dude. He's like 250 pounds.
100%. That's hysterical that you say that. I think the exact same thing. I mean, this Tennessee offense that is averaging 50 points a game ain't going to be the same offense. Now you say, oh, well, they did against Vanderbilt. They scored 50 on Vanderbilt.
And Jalen Hyatt has opted out. That's another big one that
which
obviously
I'm sad
needs to
about that because I really wanted to see what he was going to be able to do in this game. But I understand when you win the Blitnikoff, go get your money, get out, stay healthy, whatever you got to do. But it's going to be a very different looking Tennessee offense and an inspired defense from Clemson, kind of new life, if you will, when you just look at the team and Cade Klubnik coming in really just gave juice to everybody. I mean, everything changed in that ACC championship or when he went in the game. Defense, special teams, offense, position-wise. I mean, I've never seen anything like that, KG, where we've seen everybody just kind of juiced up. The interesting thing about this game is Clemson 6.5, but FPI, ESPN, heavily favoring the Volunteers. They're at like 60%.
Interesting.
It's crazy to look at this and just to see kind of the differential there. I think Clemson rolls. I think that offense is really it's a different animal with Cade. Now, you have to take it with a grain of salt. We mentioned this after the ACC championship. UNC has the worst defense in the league. Tennessee's defense, good at keeping people out of the end zone, also giving up 400-plus yards a game. So it's not drastically different, but it's just another stage, another setting kind of here for them. And, of course, they're going to have pieces of what that offense looked like. So I'm intrigued to see it, but just – it's a different Clemson than folks saw all year long.
The other thing I love with this game, Mac, is I think the coaching battle is going to be fascinating because all the film you can watch on Tennessee all year has Hendon Hooker, besides the Vandy game. All the film you can watch on Clemson all year pretty much has DJU, except for the UNC game. So do you throw in some different wrinkles? I think you have to if you're each staff. Tennessee, they have the athletes to be able to build a game plan around Joe Milton and his skill set. They've got plenty of time. And, of course, Clemson with Cade. So how ready can you be for what the other team's going to throw out there? And maybe even for Clemson when it comes to Tennessee offensively. Yeah. What are you going to see? I think that's going to be a challenge because you're not quite sure.
Well, what's really fascinating about that is for the Hendon versus Joe kind of deal they're so drastically different. You have a little bit of tape from last season, too, when Joe started before he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I think you just trust your evaluation. I think you really do because he's not going to throw it for 300 yards. And if he does, that's on you. Like, you just had a really bad day defensively. You look at that Vanderbilt game, he threw the ball 20 times for 140 yards. Like, they turned into a running team. They ran it for 360 yards. I will bet my future earnings, life savings, house, whatever you want. There's no shot they're running for 360 yards. It's not going to happen. So game plan wise for Tennessee, what do you do? Because that's not you cannot just bank on that we're going to be able to do that. Right. You're going to have to throw the football. So Joe, what do you like? What do you want to run? RPO. You want quicks. You got to get the ball out quickly. It's going to be a different look from that, but at the end of the day, that is who he is, and that's what they can do with him at QB. On the complete other page, Clemson's playbook is wide open, and they can run anything that they want with Cade, and there's no limitations in athletic ability or explosiveness or rolling left, rolling right, whatever you want to do. He can do that, and he showed that in his time. So I'm fascinated. I can't wait to see this. We'll be there. The huddle will be there live, and we're going to have a fun time down in Miami. I can't wait.
The orangest Orange Bowl of all time. When you look at who these teams won't have, I think it's obvious that Tennessee is worse without Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. I don't think anybody would argue against that. And then when you look at Clemson, no one's going to say Clemson's worse with Klubnik. Now, some might argue if they're technically better, we'll see how Klubnik looks against Tennessee, but they're not worse. So that's the way I would look at this game. And I think this game, Mac, the Orange Bowl is really big for the ACC. Your ACC champion going up against Tennessee, who's probably the second or third best team in the SEC, depending on how you look at it, without their starting quarterback.
Right.
It's a must win, I believe, for Clemson.
Right.
And
Well,
for the
I
league.
think it's safe to say they're the second best team, with how they played Georgia,
Yeah.
beating Alabama.
And they beat
and
LSU.
Killing LSU.
Yeah.
So I think they're right there. So massive
True.
opportunity really for both these teams, for bragging rights and for, momentum going into the offseason.
All right, 2 more bowl games here. I think my favorite name, December 30th, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. Just so many random things combined into that bowl game. Pitt 8-4 versus number 18 UCLA 9-3. UCLA is a 6-point favorite. The total is 57.5. As of now, Chip Kelly was asked about this, and he has said that everyone's practicing. So it seems that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the QB, and Charbonnet, the running back, are going to play. So that's great for UCLA. For Pitt, Kalijah Cansey's opting out to go to the draft. He's been a werewolf for you. He's probably been besides Banacanda, your best player. And then Keaton Slovis in the portal. Who plays QB? Is it Nick Piatti? Is it Nick Piatti time, Matt?
The second bowl game in a row now that Pitt is going to have to go to a backup, maybe a third string quarterback when it's all said and done here. The Kalijah Cansey piece, obviously massive, obviously hurts you. He had some surgery. He had a sling on at the ACC Awards, so not sure he'd be able to play even if he wanted to from a health standpoint. John Morgan, I just saw, is jumping into the portal, so he might not be playing in this game, probably won't be. Baldonado, what does his health look like? Is he going to be available? Mm-hmm. This might be a very different looking defensive line, a glimpse of the future, which could be a good or bad thing. For Pitt fans there. But one thing that I always know, KG, is whether you have the players or not, from a dynamic werewolf standpoint, the scheme for Pitt has always been true. Like, they're going to get to the quarterback. They're going to affect you. Now, you've got a really athletic guy, a really good quarterback on the other end that does not make a lot of mistakes in DTR, who has shown time and time again he's an absolute ball player. So it could hurt you. Pitt goes man a bunch. And they're going to be looking at their wide receiver. He might be 30 yards downfield before anybody turns around and realize they have to make a play. If he's available, if he goes, if he's not opting out. So this is going to be really fascinating to see how does Pitt want to attack UCLA. I think at the end of the day, if Izzy's healthy, you give him to him 30 times. You ground and pound. You try to really shorten the game. The best defense might be offense and just not giving DTR and that electric running back that UCLA has as well extra possessions, a lot of time, really make them frustrated with the lack of possessions that they might have.
This would be a big upset, I think, for Pitt, just because you really don't know who your quarterback is, and you're missing Kalijah Cansey. So I lean UCLA in this game. I think UCLA -6 is probably a good play. But I also know the Nardoos, and I know that Pitt, UCLA is obviously going to be pumped for this game. They're trying to get their 10th win. But Pitt's going to come to play, and Pitt's never going to sit there and feel sorry for themselves. They're going to go find a way to put a game
I think
together.
Just you kind of lean towards quarterback here. I think DTR obviously going to be the most athletic guy on the field, when they're on offense and when Pitt's on defense. And I think he just might be too much to handle if he plays. So if that stays true, I'm with you. I'm leaning UCLA here.
Our final game to talk about, which is the most important game of bowl season. And of course, we'll have a whole episode dedicated to this bowl. December 30th, December 30th, as we said, is a really big day. Duke's Mayo Bowl, Maryland 7-5 against number 23 NC State 8-4. Right now, last I saw, Mac, Maryland's a 1.5 point favorite. The total is 48, played in Charlotte. Maryland has three big names that I've seen opt out. For NC State, it's Devin Leary, who's entering the transfer portal. That's the big one. And just kind of some of the lingering injuries that NC State's had. Tim Beck is gone. He took the head coaching job at Coastal Carolina. Kurt Roper will call plays now. Who will play quarterback?
Yeah.
That's the question for NC State. I'm kind of guessing it's Finley. If MJ Morris has time to get healthy, of course, he's going to be in the discussion. But I think that kind of helps NC State. When Maryland's preparing, they really don't know who to prepare for.
You got three guys that you're potentially looking at in Jack Chambers, Finley, and Morris there.
Yeah,
that you're just like, man, what are we going to do here? A lot of periods in practice at different looking guys. But I'm with you. I think it's going to be Finley, barring MJ Morris being healthy, which it's a knee. You want to be careful. What's the point of probably rushing it, playing in a game like this? But if he's ready to go, why not? The Beck thing will be interesting. Just how different. Does the offense look? I'm sure not much. They're going to keep that same communication, similar plays, but it's not him calling it. And when situations happen, it's going to be a different guy, and tendencies are going to be different. So very intrigued to see that. The biggest or best unit on the field is going to be the NC State defense at any given time in this game. How can they capitalize? A lot of those seniors, a lot of guys moving on. How can they put an exclamation point on their season here, on their careers at NC State? Can they go and get 9 wins, finish ranked, in the college football playoff rankings there, and really, just solidify one of the more special classes that we've seen, from NC State. And I look at those linebackers, those guys that came in together that, are older guys that really have an opportunity here. Thayer Thomas, his last game, expect to see him go absolutely nuts. And so at the end of the day, coming down to a defensive type game, I'm rocking with the Wolfpack. I think that will really change the deal. If they can get their hands on the football, create extra opportunity, you've got to do everything you can. We've seen NC State win a lot of different ways. I think we're going to see kind of that last one in this kind of exclamation type game.
And it's in Charlotte. I think that benefits NC State. Maryland's lost 3 of their last 4. They are coming off a 37-0 win over Rutgers, so that's a little confidence boost. But I think NC State is playing better football going into this game. I would assume the Vegas line is because they don't know who's going to play quarterback for NC State. I feel like that's the vibe there. But as we've said, much more to come on every single one of these bowl games. Right now, Mac, and this will hopefully change, we agree on every game, at least our initial leans, and our initial leans has the ACC going 6-3. That would be a successful bowl season.
Absolutely. We'll see if there's some more information that maybe changes our mind either way there. We'll see. A lot can change in this new world, and we'll stay on top of that, figuring it out, but can't wait to break these down in great depth. Mash that subscribe button, rate, review there, but also over on Apple Podcasts, Gramlich and Mac Lane, presented by our great friends over at Duke's Mayo. That's it from us, guys. Until next time, we'll see y'all.